Hello, welcome to my channel WWE Pulse.
Every time a superstar enters the squared circle, their safety is at risk. Even if the outcome of the match has already been determined beforehand, the moves that they perform are very real and can lead to serious injury. A lot of people don't understand this and think it's fake because it's predetermined. But considering some of the insane moves wrestlers do with their bodies on a weekly basis, it's mind-boggling how they don't get hurt. More often, these performers put their bodies on the line every single week. And in some cases, a wrestler's career has been shortened because of a dangerous move or a series of dangerous moves that have been done to them. The amount of respect I have for these men and women who step into the ring on a weekly basis has grown exponentially since I first started watching wrestling. With all that being said, let us take a look at 5 of the most brutal things that have ever been done to a superstar in WWE. No. 5. A heart attack. Bret Hart was one of the best technical wrestlers that there's ever been. His matches were always amazing, and you could tell how much thought he put into every single one of his matches. He basically treated every single match like it was a work of art. You could tell he had such a deep passion for what he did. Unfortunately, his career was cut short by an injury during his match against his friend and tag team partner, Shawn Michaels. In case you don't know, at the time, Bret Hart was the WWE champion, and he was going to drop the title to Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series 1997. If you do not know, the Montreal Screwjob is one of the most infamous moments in pro wrestling history. Basically, Shawn Michaels was supposed to win the title from Bret Hart, but because of some miscommunication, Hart was not happy with how the finish was going to go down. According to Hart, Michaels was supposed to hit him with sweet chin music and then cover him while holding the ropes so the referee could uncount. But instead, Michaels just hit him with sweet chin music and covered him anyway. This led to the infamous yes moment. It was one of the most controversial moments in wrestling history. Some say it made Michaels and Vince McMahon the most hated people in wrestling. It also really tarnished the WWE's reputation in the eyes of the fans. But in reality, it was probably the best thing for business. The hatred that fans had for Shawn Michaels and Vince McMahon at the time led to some of the most must-see moments in WWE history. There is no doubt about it. But looking back, maybe this was the start of the end for Bret Hart. When Michaels hit Hart with sweet chin music, it caused Hart to suffer a concussion and a severe neck injury. At the time, doctors told Hart that if he wrestled again, he would likely be... So he retired from in-ring competition right then and there. But that wasn't the end of his problem. Years later, Hart suffered from post-concussion syndrome. This made him have issues with memory loss, brain fog, headaches, sensitivity to light and sound, and a whole bunch of other symptoms. And even after all these years, he still deals with those symptoms on a daily basis. And to make matters worse, in 2002, Hart suffered a legitimate concussion in a tag team match against the Dudley Boys. This led to another flare-up of post-concussion syndrome. Luckily, Hart has found ways to deal with his symptoms over the years. But this is why we never see him wrestle again. Not only was the match with Michaels extremely brutal, but it also set off a chain of events that led to years of post-concussion Syndrome. Number 4, the Empire State Building. Back in 1989, the Ultimate Warrior was the Intercontinental Champion. And at SummerSlam, he was going to drop the title to the Honky Tonk Man. For those who don't know, this match was really unique because it took place on the roof of the Empire State Building. This was before the days where health and safety was really emphasized in WWE. So the idea of having a match on top of a building seemed like a great idea. No, it really didn't seem like a great idea. Either way, the match went on as scheduled. During the match, the Honky Tonk Man attempted to escape the ring. An Ultimate Warrior followed him up, and when he did, he ended up falling through the roof and crashing down onto the floor. As you can imagine, this caused both men to suffer some serious injuries. Ultimately, the Honky Tonk Man was able to pick up the win. But I am sure many would agree that this was one of the most unnecessary risks that WWE ever took. No. 3 exploding barbed wire death match. Back in 1999, Mick Foley was the Hardcore Champion, and he was going to defend the title against Mankind in an exploding barbed wire death match. Yeah, that sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. But that's exactly what it was. At the time, Mankind was the evil alter ego of Kane. And if you watched wrestling back in the late 90s, you know that it was a pretty dark time. Mankind entered the match with a chainsaw and proceeded to destroy the cage that surrounded the ring. This led to the hardcore match taking place outside the ring, but that didn't last long because soon after, the two brawled inside of a shipping container. Yes, that sounds crazy. But this was nothing compared to what happened next. After a little bit of fighting inside the shipping container, the two exited the container, only to find out that the container had a bunch of gasoline all over it. And shortly after, it exploded. Yes, a literal explosion took place during the match. This led to the two men being engulfed in flames. Once they were able to put the flames out, they continued to fight. And eventually Mankind would pick up the win and become the new Hardcore Champion. This was absolutely one of the most insane hardcore matches the WWE's ever seen. And I'm just shocked that neither man was seriously injured. No. 2 Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell. Hell in a Cell matches are known to be extremely brutal. Most of the time there's blood, broken bones, and sometimes even weapons involved. But one Hell in a Cell match stood out amongst the rest. It was between The Undertaker and Mankind at King of the Ring 1998. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. During the match, Mankind was thrown off the top of the cell multiple times. But the most shocking spot was when Undertaker superplexed Mankind off the top of the cell. And to make matters worse, Mankind landed on a table full of thumbtacks. And if you don't know, thumbtacks are absolute torture. I remember watching this matchup when I was younger and my jaw literally dropped. I couldn't believe that someone could actually do that and not be seriously injured. But it was real. And it left Mankind completely busted open. There's no doubt about it. This was one of the most painful sights that we have ever seen. Number 1, table, ladder, and chair. Triple H is one of the best performers that WWE has ever seen. He always brings his best week in and week out. And one of his best performances came against Cactus Jack at No Way Out
Excellent.
2000. The two had a brutal street fight that truly lived up to its name. At one point during the match, Triple H went for the pedigree, but Cactus Jack countered and sent him crashing through a table with a powerbomb. And if that didn't sound brutal enough, here's another pile driver on a concrete floor. And to make matters worse, this wasn't just any pile driver. It was a double underhook pile. So Triple H's head hit the floor with a lot of force. Shortly after, Triple H was busted wide open. And if you know anything about wrestling, you know that once a wrestler gets busted open, the match is usually over. In this case, it was far from over. Cactus Jack began to use a fork to poke Triple H's eyes out. And if you don't know, getting poked in the eye with a fork is absolute torture. After Triple H was poked in the eye several times, he finally succumbed to the pain and passed out. This allowed Cactus Jack to pick up the win. And once again, this was another match where two men got absolutely destroyed. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.
Okay guys, thank you for watching my videos.